بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانه عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور ولا تصعر خدك للناس ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور واقصد في مشيك واغضض من صوتك إن أنكر الأصوات لصوت الحمير.
This medication is important. You know that it's important? I know it's important. But still, does she take it on time or no? I have to call, I have to go, I have to make sure she takes it because something's missing. I know this is good is different than saying I know that this is something I have to do. I must do it. I don't have a choice. Allah didn't just teach Nouman Ali Khan wisdom that you should be grateful to Allah, to show gratitude. Showing gratitude is one thing. He understands that it's an amr. I have to do it. In everything I do in life, I have to show gratitude to Allah. It must invade all of my actions, all of my thoughts. All of them have to be tinted with one thing, one color. And that's the color of being grateful to Allah. I have to find excuses to thank Allah in everything that I do. And so when we read this advice that Nouman is giving his son, you must first understand, and I must first remind myself, he's not trying to benefit anybody else first. He's himself trying to be grateful to Allah. And from what we learn from that is, when you and I try to help our own family, when the fathers in this audience try to help their sons, when brother tries to help another brother, the first motivation of that is not to help your brother. The first motivation is for me to be grateful to Allah. It's not about someone else, it's about me first. I'm doing it only because I want to show first and foremost gratitude to Allah. This is an idea I'll come back to towards the end of my khutbah, because the end of his advice is tied to this concept. You might think it's a very simple thing, but it can get very complicated very fast. And we can lose sight of it very easily. So I take you towards the tail end of this advice. Ya bunayya aqim as-salat. You heard these words thousands of times. My beloved son, the son that I love. Ya ibni in Arabic, yabni? Yabni, or yabna even. My son, Ya bunayya, my beloved son, my dear son. It's like he's giving him a hug, patting him on the back, showing him love, and then saying, son, listen. You know, a lot of times fathers give sons advice. Actually, fathers, all they do is they give sons advice. Right? Your son calls you on the phone, and all he hears on the other end is, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you finish this? Did you finish that? How come you didn't do this? How come you didn't do that? Okay, I gotta go. Right? Your sons don't even like calling you anymore, because all they hear is advice on the other end. Right? A lot of times, especially as sons get older, they have a hard time talking to their dad. Because dad is always correcting them, and they have, young men get short tempers. So there's a lot of tension between father and son all the time. All the time. So this father is wise, right? Allah told us in the beginning He taught him wisdom. Part of his wisdom is when He talks to his son, He talks to him with love. How many fathers here that have teenage boys that talk to their boys with love? That talk to them in a loving fashion, that they're not threatened. Oh, here he goes again. He's going to start his lecture again. I know what's coming now. I see that look on his face. He completely disarms his son. He says, Ya bunayya. What's the difference between saying, hey, go make salat, it's Maghrib time. And saying, son, come here. You know, this is Maghrib time, let's pray together. There's a difference in tone, isn't it? One would harden the heart and say, okay, fine, I'll pray because you're telling me to. And the other would say, yeah, you're right, Dad, I should pray. Let's go to the masjid together. Different results. Different results entirely. So he says, Ya bunayya aqim as-salat. And I'll just give you one of the fawaid, one of the benefits of salat that are part of this conversation. You know, our salawat, our prayers, literally the Arabic word salat is from sila, which is to connect. They're a direct connection between us and Allah Azza wa Jal. They're supposed to bring a light into our life. Every salah is supposed to be a source of light in our life. Every salah is supposed to be us getting refueled, rejuvenated. When a person really establishes salat, when they really truly establish salat in their life, then they feel a nur, a light, a tranquility, a peace, a calm, a love that they've never felt before. And the only place they get it is in salat. And the highest form of that in the Quran is described as qurratul ayn. And so the Messenger of Allah says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, جُعِلَتْ قُرَّةُ عَيْنَيَّ فِي الصَّلَاةِ. The coolness of my eyes, the highest form of my tranquility was kept in the prayer. It was put in the prayer. When I make salah, I find the most peace. Basically, in simple words. When I make salah, is when I find the most peace. So he gives his son loving advice and says, look, establish that real connection with Allah through salah. Now, when you really experience that connection with Allah, if you can get that in your salah, then you learn not to be selfish and you say, you know, other people deserve this connection too. This is not just something for me. Others should benefit from this also. And if this is the greatest gift that can be had in this world, a connection with Allah Azza wa Jal, a relationship with the Master, if that's the greatest thing we can accomplish in this world, then for everyone that you love, you would want them to have the same gift. Genuinely. You would just genuinely want them to have the same gift. So the logical consequence is only logical that the next words in the ayah are وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَى عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Command to the good. By the way, amra in Arabic means to advise, to suggest, to compel, to encourage, also to command. In other words, you've got to look for the right occasion. It's not always the time to command. Sometimes it's a time to suggest. Sometimes it's a time to give advice. Sometimes it's a time to encourage. Sometimes it is a time to command. But if you're always commanding, you lose your authority. Nobody listens. If you're always yelling, if you're always being a dictator, your people under you will stop listening to you. They don't listen. And then you say, why don't you listen to me? I told you 10 times. Well, that's because you say it 10 times. I stopped listening. That's what happens. So, وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. And al-ma'ruf also, that's a separate conversation, but that which everybody knows to be decent. Call people to that. Now before I go on, I want you to understand what I'm trying to get at. I still haven't made my point yet in this khutbah. And that is, a lot of times we do what we think is amr bil ma'ruf. We're trying to help other people out, trying to correct them in how they make salat, or how they're talking, or how they're dressed, or how they're behaving, or where they're earning their money, or how they deal with their family situations, or you're correcting another Muslim brother and what books he should read, or whatever. We correct each other and we think this is all what? Amr bil ma'ruf. And we think in our head, we think, this is how we think, we're helping them out. We're helping them out. First of all, your intention to help anybody else is what? For you yourself to be grateful to Allah. And secondly, whoever you're helping out, the reason that you want to do that for them, on top of you being grateful to Allah, is genuine love, genuine concern. Genuine love and concern. If you don't care about someone, you can't give them advice. And when you give advice to someone you don't care about, they know you don't care. They know you don't care. They can tell. You know what happens to us when we give advice? We get really angry. That's no way to give advice. And so as I wind towards the conclusion of this khutbah, I'm halfway through, I want to share with you one very peculiar example. Try and pay close attention to this example. Because it's one of the most, in my mind, one of the most powerful examples of what I'm trying to get across. Allah Azza wa Jal is unimaginably merciful. And the most merciful of His names is Ar-Rahman. You all know that. And yet, there are a group of people on this earth who say that Allah has taken a son, ma'adallah, their celebrations are on the corner. Yes? So now, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions this in the Quran, and He says in Surah Maryam, وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا. They said, Ar-Rahman has taken a son. He didn't say there, Allah has taken a son, He said, Ar-Rahman has taken a son. And then after that, He expresses His anger. لَقَدْ جِئْتُمْ شَيْئًا إِدَّا. It's understandable that Al-Aziz,